Like they had absolutely no interest in what was best for children. None.
Well, they don't have an interest for the teachers either. I mean,
True.
we point out that they're teachers unions, not kids unions. It's true. They treat the kids and families' rights horribly because they don't care about them all that much. It's not their job. But they don't push for policies that are great for teachers either with the politics. But then also their incentive as a union boss is to just put more people into the system, which costs money, obviously. And the reason that they do that is because that means more dues paying members. They have more union revenues. And then that means a stronger voting bloc by just having more people in the system. It's become a jobs program for adults as opposed to an education program for students, which is a huge problem. And it's a problem for teachers too, because what does that mean if you're a teacher in the system? Well, you could either spend that money in the classroom on the teachers that are already there, or you could spend it on the administrators, and you can spend it on just putting more people into the buildings, like we saw in Los Angeles this past year. And this has happened for decades in the U.S. This isn't anything new. Yeah, and so the teacher salaries are essentially flat. Right. So they don't see that money.
Right. Yeah. The money stays up at the top. It just stays at the top. It never gets down to, that's why teachers are having to pay, for supplies and stuff out of their own pockets. Why, if I'm spending $15,000 per child, it does not cost $15,000 to educate a child. Okay. It does not. And if you're getting all of that money per child, why in the world do teachers still have to, go and buy pencils, for God's sakes? Paper, pencils, and all these types of things for the with the money that they're not getting, that's coming from the system. It just doesn't make any sense. I would think that more teachers would start to question and push back on the teachers unions. They're not even advocating for them to get higher pay.
Yeah, just doing quick math on that. Let's say you have a classroom of 30, 15, that's $450,000 per classroom. Where the hell's all the money going? Well, It's going to administrative bloat and staffing surges, which we see year after year. And nationwide, the data that I can recall off the top of my head is that between 1992 and 2014, per pupil education expenditures in the government school system jumped by 27% after adjusting for inflation. But teacher salaries dropped by 2%. So I kind of do feel bad for some of the teachers, but the problem isn't with their competition, whether it comes to private or charter schools. The problem is their employer spending the money inefficiently because they don't really have any incentive to put it into the classroom. They have an incentive to listen to the teachers unions, to just put more people into the buildings and to give the money to administrative bloat and superintendents.
Yeah, I hope teachers start pushing back. I hope they, because they should. To me, that's an incentive to push back against these teachers unions and say, hey, wait a minute, I'm paying you. That's why I'm in the union, like for you to, lobby for me to get better pay, to get better benefits and all these things. It's like, that's not happening. So I'm surprised actually that more teachers aren't. I'm sure there are some that are, but I'm surprised. Maybe there are some things that I just don't know.
They hear over and over again from their superintendents why, competition is bad for them and why teachers unions are so great. And they just hear that, over and over again. So, we got to combat the narrative. And, I'll just say I don't have a problem with unions per se. I have a problem with the unions in the public sector coupled with monopoly power with the district system.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is, if the unions push for policies that are horrible for teachers, well, the teachers don't have any other options really in terms of employment. 90% of the students are in the government run sector. And so you don't have much choice of employers. So there's a monopsony in the labor market. And if they lobby for policies that hurt kids, the kids don't have their families don't have any recourse. And so if we had all of them, that $15,000 just attached to the child, and they have a choice in where to go, well, then the unions would probably have a better incentive to push for things that aren't wasteful and to prioritize important educational resources, which happen to be the teachers in the classroom.
Yeah.
And then all of the incentives would be aligned in the right way to benefit teachers and students. And the 5 studies that I've seen on the topic, which I've summarized at the Washington Examiner in a post called School Choice Benefits Teachers Too, is that private and charter school competition leads to higher salaries for public school teachers, which is the opposite of what you'd usually hear from the teachers union narrative.